Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar on marketing and brand awareness. I would like to introduce today's presenters, Zainab Oda and myself, Irene Spizar. In today's session, we will be focusing on following points. Spreading brand awareness, focusing on website, podcasts, and co-marketing. Balancing quality and growth, using customer service over product perfection theme, and increasing customer base with social media and blogs. So let's dive right into it. You most probably already know what branding is. It's the look and feel of a company, like its logo and website, as well what people think of it. In other words, the brand represents the company's reputation. A classic example of great corporate branding is Nike. The swoosh logo, the tagline, "Just do it," and the company's ads that feature real athletes make up the brand. As soon as you see a Nike ad, you recognize it. But how can that help you as a person? It's the simple principle. You are your personal brand. Who you are online is who you are as a business. Your content becomes your voice as a company, and your brand is built by how successfully you market that brand to your customers. Brand awareness sets your company apart from others that offer a similar product or service. When you set out to establish brand awareness, you are wanting to make an impact on the minds of consumers. You want them to understand what you offer and how your brand is different from similar companies. Keeping that goal in mind, what type of content should you produce? Think of ways to catch the attention of a lot of people. Your content should be relevant to a broad audience and exciting enough to grab the spotlight. Growing a website takes time. It takes consistent sharing of great content for months and months on end. Good content is what sets your website apart from the masses and delivers the right message into the hearts and minds of your customers. The success of your website is determined primarily by its content. Ultimately, content wins the wallets of your customers. All other components of your website, like design, visuals, videos, etc., provide a secondary support role. If you have effective taglines, great design will only enhance their effectiveness. Posting relevant, valuable, and frequently updated information on your website will boost search engine optimization, or SEO for short, help position you as an expert, and allow you to build relationships with your audience. All are priceless benefits for any business. Videos and other visual content. Well, effective content doesn't always come in the form of a text. Videos on websites are changing the way important messages are communicated nowadays. Website visitors expect to get the more information they need without effort. Custom videos provide a great way to engage audiences and drive important messages in a format that requires less effort than reading large amounts of text. In addition, illustrations, infographics, diagrams, and interactive presentations are often used to explain difficult concepts and assist users in their decisions. Customer testimonials are a great tool to publicly show real people that are raving about your product. In the example shown, you can see customer testimonials in prominent positions around a website. They are paired with friendly-looking customer pictures that increase the legitimacy of the testimony. Alongside a customer's testimonial providing basic information under their testimony, like location, position, and organization. Alongside testimonials, if a customer is praising your company on social media like Twitter or Facebook, you can use those on your website. User-generated testimonials look great and give prospecting customers more comfort and reassurance on your website. At its simplest, co-branding is a collaboration, sharing audience, content, and messages that resonate with them. The types are as varied as marketing channels available. You could host co-sponsored events and activations. Tech-savvy companies might develop a co-branded app or simply produce original content that's relevant to both of your audiences. Take the successful partnership between GoPro and Red Bull as one example. Both brands appeal to people who crave adventure and participate in action sports. GoPro provided cameras to athletes at Red Bull's signature series sporting events, and both companies benefit from the content those athletes created, as well as increased exposure. So we all know having a website is essential for running a successful business these days, and most businesses have one. But what do you put on your website? How do you let people know about your website? And most importantly, how can you make it profitable? A big part of this will be branding. Every successful brand has a carefully crafted brand image. Let's take Apple, for example. Everyone know what they do and what they offer, and are an excellent example of perfecting marketing and branding. Over many years, they have branded themselves as high-end and elegant consumer electronics that cost a high premium. They have very carefully crafted their public image to reflect this and are now one of the most profitable companies in the world. Okay, but Apple is $1 trillion company. They have the money to spend on this level of marketing and brand imaging. How can this help me? Well, we can see things that they do and what works for them and incorporate it into your brand image. For example, let's take their new MacBook Air. The first thing that you see is side picture of the laptop and two words below the image, light and speed. This is a brilliant and extremely simple way to advertise the main attractions of the device. From these two words, we know the main attraction, the speed. My apology. We know the main attractions of the device. It's very light and fast, and combined light and speed sounds like it's an incredibly fast device and ahead of the curve before we really even know more about the product. This creates both a great and enticing first impression and makes potential and returning customers interested in learning more about the product. In a sense, getting them hooked. Think of marketing as a funnel. At the top, you gain the attention of a large number of people. Then they are directed through a series of steps to gradually increase their interactions with your company. And at the bottom of the funnel, your resulting customers. Driving traffic to your website occurs near the top of the marketing funnel. Your content should motivate viewers to click through to visit your website. When you create content for this purpose, ask yourself these questions. Is this content optimized to drive viewers to my website? Will this content catch the attention of my target demographic? And how should I measure the impact of my content? So brand awareness, so as we've said, this is probably the most obvious use of social media. Virtually every social network can be used to get your brand's content in front of new audiences to make them aware of what you're doing. Paid brand awareness ads on Facebook are a great example of how thousands of people in a targeted audience can be reached for the very first time for a matter of cents or pennies. The public nature of the social network, along with the algorithmic approach to newsfeed population, means brands can use the viral nature of platforms to increase reach. Engagement and interest. Social media gives rise to a significant element of the consumer-brand relationship, and this sits between initial brand awareness and more serious consideration. Being aware of a brand, its name, products, and what it stands for is one thing. And engaging with that brand and showing a serious interest in it's quite another. Web traffic may occur at many points during the customer journey, but it's most often considered an element of the middle of the funnel as individuals learn more about a brand and what it offers. In the consideration part, this is the part of the funnel that most closely represents the decision-making portion. Social media can be used to influence the decisions of customers in several ways. Features and benefits and social proof assets like testimonials and reviews can be shared to an engaged audience. Other tactics, such as creating urgency by offering a limited time only discount on products, can get customers over the line. The consideration phase is very different depending on the nature of the product in question and may involve other factors that lie outside the remit of social media, but social media can undoubtedly affect this portion, especially for customer brands. This is looking at the action part, which is the smallest one on the bottom. This is essentially the end of the marketing funnel, hopefully the point at which someone decides to become a customer. However, depending on your business, the end of the marketing funnel might not be as simple as someone completing an online purchase. Action caters for a variety of customers. If an online purchase can be made, great. That's a conversion. However, if it results in an inquiry or sales meeting, the marketing funnel has done its job, but the deal isn't yet done. It might also be the case that the action is to not purchase, which is sad. However, this means that more work needs to be done on how to attract non-compliers back into the funnel at some point in the future. Now let's move to podcasts. Most people have podcasts. Most people have heard of them and know at least the basics of what they are. But essentially, they are radio shows on internet instead of, well, radio. However, many people don't realize how effective they can be at building brand awareness and bringing in more customers. So why are podcasts so awesome? You reach an on-the-go audience. There is a lot of wasted time in a daily commute. Your audience can't read your blog posts while driving or jogging, at least not very safely. Podcasts are portable and convenient. Almost everyone has access to podcasts. If you have a smartphone, you're able to quickly download and listen to podcasts from anywhere. Speaking is quicker than writing. Writing takes a lot of time. Speaking, on the other hand, is a lot quicker. A 30-minute podcast takes about 30 minutes of your time, plus minor edits and uploading, whereas it would take you hours, if not days, to write the same amount of content. Of course, I would never recommend that you abandon writing blog posts in favor of podcasts. Honor both by doing both. That way, along with video and social media, you'll reach different audiences who want to hear from you. Some people prefer listening over reading. Just like it's easier to speak to write, for some people it's easier to listen than read. While 65% of the population are visual learners and prefer blog posts and images, around 30% are auditory learners. This group simply learns better by listening, so podcasts are a natural fit for them. Some of the people in your audience are no doubt auditory learners. Men and women listen to podcasts equally. Hosting a podcast is a good tool to appeal to both genders. It's free. Oh, okay, it's not completely free. You do have to invest in a decent microphone and spend time recording and editing, but it's definitely cheaper than other marketing tools. So, why podcasts should be your top marketing priority this year? Podcasts may be one of the last channels people think of when it comes to content marketing. However, they have a lot of value. Maybe you're one of those marketers who's tried every other kind of content, from ebooks to webinars. Or maybe you've stuck to safe mainstream form of content like social media and blogging. Either way, podcasting can be a smart next step. Historically, podcast marketing has been the domain of direct to customer brands, but not anymore. Now, bigger, more established brands are quickly moving into the space. After all, podcast listeners are a marketer's dream. Women aged 25 to 34 are the really sweet spot for podcasting listenership, according to Edison research, and 44% have a household income of more than 75,000 a year. Best of all, they're a captive audience. 70% say they do nothing else when listening to a podcast, with nearly all finishing or almost finishing whatever podcast they download. How smart brands should navigate the sprawling podcast space? With active podcasts in virtually every category imaginable, it can be daunting to figure out where to show up, let alone how. So many podcasts sound like free flowing conversations, but don't be fooled. Most have a podcast script template that they follow. The top podcasts in the world go into the process with the podcast format before they begin recording. In order to replicate the conversational voice style of podcast, you need a great podcast script template to follow. There are many ways to go about creating a script. And when it comes to planning your podcast, scripts are not usually intended to be read verbatim. Instead, they are more like a guide to help you move effortlessly through your show's content. Let's dive in then. Before getting nitty-gritty with the script, take a bird's eye view of your show. What elements do you have that will make it feel consistent for the listener each time? You should do this first so that you are aware of what is coming up in the show and can make your show sound like a cohesive, flowing conversation with great passages, transitions. Podcast script writing is all about creating momentum. Regardless of whether you are creating a long form discussion or a short and snappy show, keep topics moving to keep listeners engaged. Try to use guests as a way to break up the conversation pace and tone of your shows. Use musical backgrounds. These are known as jingles or music beds, or other non-music interludes, referred to as staggers, sweeps, and IDs, to transition between topics. These topic breaks are typically described as bumpers or sweepers, giving your listeners the time they might need to digest that content you just presented. As each episode is different, they should have their own themes, topics, and lengths to set them apart from each other. So we're also going to look at the 5 common podcast formats. So monologue podcasts, one host speaks about their expertise and experience. Co-hosted podcast, 2 or more hosts having a conversation about their expertises or experiences. Interview-based podcast, a host interviews and guides a conversation around a guest's expertise. Panel podcast, a host moderates a discussion between a group of guests around a single topic. And then storytelling podcast, either fiction or nonfiction, a host narrates a story, typically including sound effects, audio sourced from real life, and multiple voice actors. So once you have a listening audience, ask them for feedback about your show and gain valuable information that will help you to improve your podcast. They may even introduce new ideas that will give you an edge over any potential competitors and enhance their listening experience. Ideas that they provide might refer to the length of segments, topics discussed, guests on the show, and so on. So balancing quality and growth. Sometimes growing happens fast, and what comes with growth, growing pains. Growth in one area of the business could cause us to lose focus in another area, or a sudden influx of clients can cause us to lose the ability to maintain one-on-one relationships. If we focus too much on growth, we might let quality fall to the wayside, harming our relationships with our customers and our long term success. If we focus too much on the quality, we might miss out on the opportunity to expand our services and innovate. So, finding the right balance is the key. How to grow without losing what makes you great? That's a great question. In a perfect world where money grows on trees, most of us will take quality over productivity 100% of the time. But we don't live in that world, so it's recommended to strike a balance between the two sets of metrics. You can look at quality and productivity side by side in a performance dashboard or scorecard. Extend self-service. And why? Because customer retention predicts revenues. Customer support is an easy way to differentiate your company from the competition. It also drives customer loyalty, repeat purchases, and referrals. So moving to a next slide, I will hand the microphone over to Zainab.
Hi, so we're actually talking about social media. So let's just get it there. Okay. So people actually crave a connection on social media, and companies that create authentic connections with their customers will thrive and it's becoming very harder to do that actually. Social media is a great platform for brands to maintain customer relationships while also having the opportunity to be found by new leads. In fact, a lot of people learn about a new brand from their friends on social media. So strong brand awareness is actually a result of a lot of different efforts that extend beyond trying to get paying customers. You really are trying to get out of that box of just getting that one customer that you want to pay you for your product. If you expect to actually raise your brand awareness just by running a few advertisements of your products or services on Facebook or any other social platform, you're not going to get that far. Not because it's only focused on the product, but it lacks impact on your actual brand in a total. So we'll be focusing on how you want to grow your brand's brand awareness, not just your services and products. So the first thing you want to do is be visual. Visuals are appealing. Will actually stop their scrolling and stop at a picture if it appeals to their eyes. So you really have to spend a lot of time in enhancing that photo of your product or service and make it following the trends of that platform that you're using to make it working. So for example, Instagram requires high definition, really trendy kind of profile photos. So you want to make sure you're following that. Whereas Facebook likes to have more of a description with the picture as like along, rather than just having that one picture that explains it. You want to make sure you incorporate your brand into the images and that way you can help your logo and your brand be well known, because you're trying to start with brand recognition before you even get into brand awareness. So think of the content that you share. And you're likely an image that helps to break up the text and allows you to explain what you're saying through that one image or a few images that you're sharing. The point is, a good visual will become more shareable, and that will pave the way for you to achieve higher brand awareness. So you have to work the platform. So social media is an intimate way to connect with your customers. It is where all your followers will also interact with friends and family. So people expect their discussion with brands to be as comfortable as it is with their friends on social media. That way, a lot of businesses that use automation sometimes forget that this is not how it is from before. Automation is cool, but you have to make sure you're using it wisely. That means that if you're having a specific caption on Instagram, it may not work the same way on Facebook, just because the way of the captions are limited, and Facebook does not like hashtags, whereas Instagram does. So if you're using any kind of platform that helps you with organizing your photos or your pictures and then posting it on a specific time, make sure you're spending some time on making each message or each caption works with the platform and make it native. That way people know that you're actually putting effort into it. And also you want to make sure that you're optimizing all of your information on your platform. So your bios and your links to the website. Instagram does not like to have links or hyperlinks under your actual post, just because it won't work unless you're actually using funding or using like paid promotions. You only could put it on your logo, on your profile, your biography, whereas Facebook, you can include it in under each post, you can include the link to your website. So understand the differences between all the different platforms that you are using. Now you want to give to get. You just don't expect the customers to come to you and pay you for your product, or for people to want to collaborate with you if you're not giving anything back. So try to invest time to build customer relationships and about delivering your values to your followers. If you can provide helpful, informative, or even entertaining content, people will want to connect with you. You can't just think about what's the in it approach, because you won't get that far. So a strategy that has actually been proven to work in creating more followers and more leads, it's called the dream list. And that mostly works on, let's say, Instagram or Facebook. And basically what you do is you take 10 accounts that you would like to work with you, whether you want them to follow you, become clients, or actually become people that you want to collaborate with in the future. And your mission is to be highly active with those profiles, like commenting, liking, sharing their post for at least like a week to 2 weeks. Once you do that, you're building a relationship with those profile accounts, and you're now able to pitch your idea, whether if you're trying to sell something, or you can pitch your idea to collaborate with them. But they will know you. They know your profile because they've seen you commenting over the time. They've seen you sharing, and they will be able to talk with you on a more comfortable level rather than if you did not do that. Another way is to be recognized and increase your brand awareness is by encouraging more communication through comments. So a lot of time when we do the caption under our photos, if we do get any engagements, usually it's either a like or maybe a thank you or an emoji, and we respond to them with a very customary thank you or glad to help. And that does not drive a lot of conversations. So you have a one-way communication basically, rather than trying to get that two-way communication. And a very simple trick to this is try to add more questions under your actual caption to encourage that conversation to open. And it may work and it may not, but at least once in a while somebody will actually answer a question, and now you could talk to them on the comments, and that will drive the algorithm of whatever platform you're using to understand that you're having more communication and more engagements, which will help you rank higher and get brand awareness. Lastly, is you want to reward your followers and customers. So very simple, short way to do that is by contests and competitions, which help you and your followers. So if you're using Instagram, then run a campaign that asks people to vote on their favorite product through a poll or on your stories. If it's on Facebook, try to run contests where customers could share photos that also highlight your products and kind of make a competition out of it, or just basically do some giveaways. Your focus is to build the know, like, and trust before trying to pitch anything, because you want to sound authentic rather than just a business trying to get their money. And you have to make sure to be consistent. Now, I'll be talking about being consistent on two different perspectives. You want to be consistent with the way you respond to your customers. So listening is just the first piece of the puzzle, but you also have to respond to what you hear. So make sure you're having quick responses that not provide only speed and convenience, but also give that one-on-one experience with them. So it's not just automated responses, which are fast, but I'll know it's automated and I won't feel like you're being authentic with me. And then you want to make sure that you're doing that on the different platforms on a different way. That way, if you're having followers that follow you on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, they won't feel that you're not really spending time on that. That does take some time and effort, but once you get the hang of it, you'll be able to understand. And especially if you're running a business page, a lot of the platforms actually help you, like Instagram. They help you to make shortcuts. So when you first start writing like the first few letters, you could take that response and send it. Being consistent on the actual profile that you have. So on your actual business page, you want to make sure that your profile reflects your brand clearly. So make sure you're using the same consistent themes, fonts, and make sure you're creating a personality for your business. And that way your profile is always having your brand logo and it's embedded with your photos, and it increases recognition and brand awareness. You can see in that photo right there, they're clearly talking about some kind of oil product, and they have numerous different pictures, but it's all the same theme and similar colors that makes it eye pleasing, and I'll be interested in having that elegant, beautiful product. So something in the same along lines in what your industry, and it's always okay to go on other businesses in your industry and kind of be inspired by how they're running their business. Obviously, don't copy how they are doing their pages, but just get ideas on how it is, and that way you can see how the level of competition you have in your industry on the social media. So lastly, we'll be talking about paid and ad campaigns. And that is very important. And social media ads can actually give you a great addition to your overall social media strategy if it is used wisely. So there's a great potential in increasing the brand awareness, but there's two different campaigns or two different ways of you could doing that that I will be discussing with you. So you can connect with brands, customers, or influencers to actually work with them and collaborate, or you could try to create a referral marketing campaign. The referral marketing is actually one of the best strategies to use when you want to grow your business, because it basically allows you to tap into the goodwill of your existing customers and use it to create new leads and opportunities. So that's basically obsessing over the fact that there is few clients out there or few people that have actually been using your products and are liking it. So you reshare and repost their posts about you and let people know, I'm helping those individuals. I could help you as well. Whether you're selling a product or a service, people will connect to other people's experience rather than just your word, and they'll take into consideration. Both of those different methods are actually easy, very great ad campaigns on social media because they're easy to track, and it gives you the help to smoothen your bumps and allows you to make them successful. So the second strategy that we'll be talking about, which is connecting with your influencers or brands, I actually have divided it into 3 specific steps that you want to take into consideration, just because it's more largely used. And the way to go about it is basically you want to first find those influencers in your industry, whether you're trying to get them based on your location, or if you don't mind about the location, it's more about just industry and internationally, like global wide, then you check the hashtag communities and you actually check out which profiles, which individuals have a lot of different diversity, a lot of different followers. But don't just look at the high numbers of followers. Look at if you click on the actual profile, make sure you're scrolling through and get the idea. Do they kind of share the same perspective as you do? Does their account kind of connect to you in a specific way that you could see yourself working with them? Because the last thing you want to do is work with the following influencer that does not really share the same ideas, and then people will see that that differences, and they will not trust your word or their word. So once you discovered the accounts that you want to do, now you want to do the outreach, which is your second step. Let them know of you. And that brings us back to that dream account list. So it actually goes hand in hand. Once you do that, you do spend a week or two of getting, following them, liking them, sharing their comments. Then now you could feel a bit comfortable, and when you slide into their DMs, or if you email them or private message them, that they know who you are and you're not just like one of thousands who's messaging them. And they'll be open to reading your email and even maybe working with you. And you could discuss a collaboration. And that brings us right into our third step, which is your agreement. Now, the agreement on the collaboration with your social media followers or, influencers or brand members, differs on how big the project is. If you have a bigger project where you're actually working with another brand or another competitor and you're just kind of collaborating, I suggest you actually do a formal contract and have a method of signing it, because now you're talking about different business reputations. But if you're doing it on a basic collaboration where you're kind of just sharing a post or telling them, could you recommend my page and let people come over, then it could be just a verbal agreement that happens on social media and you don't have to worry about it, especially if it's a short term. So those are the two different campaigns that you could possibly end up paying money for, and they help you with your engagement and measurements. So when you get to you can see on the social engagement, and you have to make sure if you're following all those steps, you'll notice that the number of followers, likes, shares are getting higher on a daily basis. Then you know you're getting somewhere. Also, your social listening. So you're monitoring the actual organic mentions and engagement. So not just on your page, but on other people's pages. So are there people actually tagging your brand? Are there people that are using a hashtag maybe that you designed and people are using it because it's catching on? Then you know you're not just from your end being like working hard, but there's actually now people out there somehow helping you with your brand awareness. And once you get to that level, then you can only grow from there if you're doing the same thing. Just as last takeaway about your social media, you want to make sure on social media, that you're more of a person rather than just a company. So imagine yourself meeting a new person face to face. You want to know about them. You're very curious to, what their passion, what their hobbies, what their likes. That's the same way others would want to look when they go on your profile. They want to be able to know about your brand, not just know what the products you're selling, but know about the brand. So a lot of behind the scenes videos would be nice on your stories. A lot of meet the team right now and having some testimonials would be great, because you're showing them stuff that they wouldn't see if there was no social media platform available, and they don't need to have something similar to what they could do on the Google search. So be more authentic. And so that's it with the social media. I'll be actually talking about blogs right now. So if you do want to increase your audience, blogs is one of the greatest ways to do that. A lot of people have this preconceived notion that blogs either are very easy to do and anybody could do them, or they're very hard to do and there's no point of doing it because you can't drive a lot of profit from it or a lot of customers from it. I will actually be talking about the facts behind it and even get into the details on how to formulate a blog that could help you successfully get the brand awareness. So blogs are great for increasing brand awareness because they actually offer evergreen content, and they create content that is easier than ever, which is a good thing because a lot of people right now turn to the internet just to get answers for the questions, concerns, or even sometimes some DIY projects. So you want to make sure that you're creating content that is fun to that person who is reading it. They're interested into it. And you want to make sure that it's easy to show the personality and share opinions and on positioning issues that they have. So two major components that personify and humanize your brands are the way you talk about it and your actual blog formation, which we'll get into it. Your blogs actually also help you with making you more visible on Google. So they increase your ranking on Google, and it gives you that free range of a platform to include your keywords in a most relevant and quality way. So there's a lot of reasons why a business might start a blog, but one of the best reasons is to get your return on investments. When you focus on blogging and actually give it the time it needs, you'll get a huge payoff. And blogging can actually help you overcome some of the biggest marketing challenges that are available for businesses that focus to business or businesses to customers brand face. So within the following steps, I'll discuss a bit more details on how to do that. But as you can see from the chart right here, it just tells you the two big marketing challenges that you can get, and how blogging can actually overcome that if you're doing it right. And that is the key. You have to invest time into doing it the right way. So first, you want to create a budget. It is very rare for businesses to actually consider a budget for a blog, because when I say a blog, you think is you just need a computer and your mind and you kind of start talking about a specific subject. However, it is huge impact if you do have a budget. And the budget is actually a bit different than the usual kind of budget. It does require some basic costs into like setting up a web page and everything else. But the biggest cost that you have to allocate time for is your time. Your time is the biggest resource that you will need to create a successful blog. You have to allocate the right time that you need for each different blog that you are writing about a specific subject. So you need to put time to planning, writing, and setting up the content. This charts right here just kind of show you the average benchmarks and how people can actually see the success rate. So very simply, if you're spending over 6 hours on one blog, just writing it out, you could see that they're having the highest success rate because of the time they're putting into it. They're actually considering answering more concise questions or concerns that somebody else would search. And a third thing that you want to factor into your budget is actually the time and money that you may need to marketing your blog once it's actually published. Otherwise, readers may not know that you actually exist and may not go on the resource. And that's a huge part to it too, is that once you're done actually writing it, you're not really done. There's that whole process behind it into marketing it. So now you want to define your brand goals once you have the budget and devise the plan. So define the audience that you're trying to target. What are the topics that are most interesting to them, and how impactful will your content be? And lastly, which marketing channels will actually be the best to reach those audience? So all those questions should be answered to you before you kind of get into the content. Think of how you can make your content not directly selling, but ensuring that your brand still makes money. You don't want to just full on not talk about anything that you're doing and then kind of just be offering free information without getting anything in return, because you're still losing then. You want to make sure you're getting something back out of it, but not that direct come buy my service. So you want to create content that builds your brand's reputation and gets the viewers or the readers' trust. And once you have that and people see that you have value, then people will convert that information into the next step and become either maybe a member, or somebody will purchase the product, and then you get the money. So as you can see right here, be authentic and gain the trust. So I'll be talking in more right now how to actually structure your actual blog. So the first thing you want to do is start off with a very creative title and headline. And a lot of the common titles you see in the blogs is how to, start something, or how to create a website maybe. And that is very popular because a lot of people, when they go to search, they actually will search how to do this or how to do that. And if that is right there, a relevant keyword that you could get. The second thing is your actual introduction. So you want to make sure you're hooking the reader with a bold statement. An overview of what they'll be discussed is very important, but make sure you're able to highlight it in more of an easy way to read rather than making it hard. And that gets us right into the third step, which is having having all the subheadings of the different subjects that you've been discussing in the platform very clear, so people could easily skim through it. It's easy to get into that trap where you kind of don't want to have different subheadings just because you want to make sure people are actually spending time to read your content and not kind of exiting your blog. But then the opposite will happen. Nowadays, people are all about convenience and speed. And if I can't go to the part that I want to get the information, I'm not going to actually end up staying here. I'm going to find another blog. So you have to be confident that what you're providing is valuable, and just make sure you're having that subheadings and making it easy to scroll through. Now we get to your body. So each paragraph should be about within 5 to 6 lines, including other people's maybe different tips from other people or different links, and that actually allows you to create more credibility. And lastly, when you wrap your blog, you want to make sure you have a strong conclusion, but actually say conclusion. A lot of the the trends that's been going on the internet that the stats show is many people will scroll all the way down to the conclusion when they first click on a blog, read up the conclusion, so they want to see the summary, and if they actually will find what they need, then they'll go back and read the actual blog. So on your conclusion, summarize all the points that you'll be highlighting them, discussing, and actually make it clear about what they will be gaining out of this, and that will help people to stay longer on your blog. And one tip is if you are actually adding any other external link of any maybe blogger or influencer or a website, make sure you could find a way to email or contact that individual behind that knowledge and just let them know that you shared them on your platform or on your blog, and maybe if they could share your blog on their platform as well. You're in a way benefiting them and yourself, and sometimes people will not respond back, but others will, and that's another way of you tapping into another audience. And you can see as a very, very basic email structure is right there. So the image right now, right behind it, is basically a more of a visual sense of how the perfect blog post can be. And you can see right there, they have call to action twice. So if you are selling something, whether it's a service, a book, or a membership, make sure you're having that call to action more than once so people could click on it if they don't want to go all the way to the bottom. And just finally, some tips on how to increase traffic to people's traffic to come to your blog. There is numerous ways of doing so. So obviously the most important one is to include high-ranking keywords into your blog. If you invested so many hours into actually structuring that blog and rating it, might as well invest a few more minutes or a bit more time into understanding which keywords will get more people to your website, what are in the industry, what are being searched on the search inquiry, and try to incorporate those along your blog. Secondly is promoting on social media. So take the advantage that you have those followers on social media platforms and let them know when you write a new blog, or share with them a very interesting piece. Like on Facebook, it's very great if you could share a snippet of the blog and then just tell people, hey, read more when you actually click on the blog, which is great because now you're having people coming on 2 different platforms. Third is actually taking part of ghost posting, and that's a whole different kind of idea of what ghost posting is, but basically it's sharing your blog or sharing your part of your thoughts on another person's blog or another website. And medium.com is a great platform where so many different bloggers from around the world go on there and they share their blog. What's very nice about Medium is it actually allows the person to read only up to like 3-4 paragraphs, and the rest of the blog they blur it unless you click onto that website and go to the other person's URL. So if you're doing a blog, I highly suggest putting some time into Medium and sharing your blog over there, and then that way you could drive some people to you. And lastly, it's creating an email list and sharing that along with your newsletter. So make sure you're trying to get people to subscribe to your website and your blog, and just by doing a nice pop-up onto your blog page and asking people to subscribe, now it allows you to tell those people every time you do a new blog that, hey, check out my new blog, it's coming up like within a month. So just think of ways to how to continue growing that traffic. That way you're not just investing time in creating a nice informative piece and not being anybody viewing it or reading it, and that would be the worst thing. So that kind of gets us to the end of the webinar. Thank you so much for listening. Just to highlight the main key points we talked about. We talked in general about brand awareness, and Irene went into more detail about the website, podcasting, and co-marketing. She discussed how to balance your quality and growth at the same time and gain that customer service. And then I just spoke about social media and how you could maintain your profiles to grow and become more visible. And finally, how blogs and just the structure of your blog actually gets you more recognition and reputation. So thank you for everything, and hopefully you guys get something out of this webinar, and thank you. Have a great day.